I can imagine it now. A time when millions of acres of America's most fertile farmland suddenly turned into a barren wasteland. The sky went dark in the middle of the day. Breathing became difficult, and massive walls of dust swallowed entire towns. This was not just a natural disaster. It was the result of human mistakes colliding with the power of nature. A catastrophe that changed the course of American history forever. This is the story of the Dust Bowl. The early 1930s were already a difficult time for the United States. The country was struggling through the Great Depression, and farmers were desperate to grow more crops to survive. Across the Great Plains, millions of acres of native grass were plowed under to plant wheat. For years, the harvests were good, and it seemed like a smart decision. But few realized that those deep-rooted grasses had protected the soil from the region's powerful winds for centuries. Then, everything changed. A devastating drought settled across the plains. Rain stopped falling, the soil dried out, and the land became fragile. When powerful winds swept across the region, they lifted the loose topsoil into the air. Soon, millions of tons of fertile earth were flying across the country. People called these terrifying storms black blizzards. The dust clouds were so enormous that they turned daylight into darkness. Families couldn't see their own homes. Cars stopped on the roads because drivers were completely blinded. Livestock suffocated, crops disappeared, and dust found its way through every crack in homes, covering furniture, food, and even the beds where people slept. There was dust in the water, dust in the food, and dust in the air people breathed every second. Thousands became seriously ill with a condition later known as dust pneumonia, as fine particles filled their lungs. Then came one of the darkest days in American history. On April 14, 1935, a massive dust storm swept across the Great Plains. The sky turned completely black, and many believed the end of the world had arrived. That day would forever be remembered as Black Sunday. The states hit hardest included Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas, Colorado, and New Mexico. Millions of acres of farmland were destroyed. Families lost their crops, their homes, and their livelihoods almost overnight. With no future left on the plains, hundreds of thousands of people packed everything they owned into old cars and headed west, especially to California, hoping to find work and a better life. But their journey was far from over. Many migrant families faced poverty, discrimination, and extremely low-paying jobs. They worked long hours under harsh conditions, struggling every day just to survive. Their story became one of the greatest migrations in American history. As the disaster grew worse, the U.S. government realized immediate action was necessary. New farming techniques were introduced to protect the soil. Farmers were encouraged to plant windbreaks, rotate crops, and use conservation methods that would prevent the land from blowing away again. Millions of trees were planted across the Great Plains to slow the winds and protect farmland. Slowly, nature began to recover. The rains finally returned, crops started growing again, and the land slowly came back to life. But the Dust Bowl left behind a lesson that America would never forget. The disaster proved that nature is not something humans can control without consequences. When the balance between people and the environment is broken, the cost can be devastating. The Dust Bowl was more than a series of dust storms. It was a warning to the world that the greatest disasters are not always caused by nature alone. Sometimes they begin with our own decisions. Even today, nearly a century later, the Dust Bowl remains one of the most powerful reminders of why protecting the environment is essential, not only for our future, but for the generations yet to come. Enjoyed the video? Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next documentary.